Wouldn't it be fantastic if you could mix your songs in some of the best studios on the planet? Well, I've been trying out Immerse Virtual Studio from Embody, a plugin which aims to help you do just that. Hi folks, I'm Mike and I hope you're well. Agree with it or not, more and more people are beginning to mix on headphones. And I'm not just talking about amateurs who are limited by budget, space, and the quality of their room treatment. I'm also talking about highly regarded professionals who are revealing that they sometimes mix with headphones, especially when they've got a tight deadline and they can't get into their favorite studio. So if you're going to do that, it's a good idea to try and replicate the studio environment from within the headphones. And that's what Immerse Virtual Studio tries to do. But not just with any studio, with some of the best studios on the planet. Now it achieves this in some very interesting ways, starting off with a picture of your right ear. So I've inserted Immerse Virtual Studio as the final plugin on the master bus here in Studio One. Now I should explain that up until recently this plugin was only available for Pro Tools, but in recent days they've announced the all access version, the version I'm using, which is compatible with just about any DAW. They've got VST, they've got AU and they've got AAX versions available. Now they've done the hard work of going to each of these studios and recording the responses of all of the monitors within those studios using some specialized equipment, but they realized that the performance of the plugin would be affected by each person's individual hearing. So one of the first steps of setting up this plugin is to use a QR scanner on your phone, record the QR code which is on the plugin, and then you're taken to a web app which navigates you through the process of taking a photo of your right ear. Once you've done that, it's uploaded to their servers where some clever AI is implemented, and then your personalized profile is sent to the plugin. This means that it's tailor-made just for your hearing. Now, the other thing that they felt was important was knowing which headphones you're using so that they can really tailor this experience to your ears and your headphones. So the next thing I did was pick some headphones. So I've actually got a few headphones to choose from in my little studio, so I thought I'd pick my absolute favorites, the BEYERDYNAMIC DT990 Pros. Shh, don't tell the other ones. So then within the plugin, you go ahead and select your specific model of headphones. So I'll go down to BEYERDYNAMIC here and I'll select DT990 Pros. Now the plugin has now been adapted to take into account the original model plus the specific nature of your ears and then the specific headphones that you're using. Now, if you don't happen to have a pair of headphones which are on their list here, you can use one of the generic choices. So you can go down to standard headphones here and choose a style of headphone amongst the choices there. Now, I thought that would be very inaccurate, and of course it is less accurate than choosing a specific model, but I did some tests and I chose a model of SENNHEISER headphones I have, the HD280 Pros, which are not on the list, and I kind of swapped between my DT990 and those, and I was surprised at just how close the sound was. Really amazing, because they're quite different headphones in many ways. The other little test that I did was to go up to the BEYERDYNAMIC section, evil me, and tried between the DT770 Pros and the DT990 Pros. Now these are quite different because one of them is closed backed and the other one is open backed, and they naturally create quite a different sound, especially in the low end. But again, I was pleasantly surprised when I was swapping between the two. The sound was actually very, very similar. So well done to the makers in terms of that. So now that we've got our setup with the headphones, our ears and the models in place, let's have a look at the different studios. So the core of this plugin is your ability to choose between 5 world-renowned studios who between them can boast names like Michael Jackson, Alanis Morissette, Bono, Dr. Dre, Aerosmith, and more. Now, as you select between each studio, you can also choose to see more information about that studio, as well as the producers who work in them. You may recognize this fella here, Warren Hewitt from Produce Like a Pro in his Spitfire studio. Now, as well as being able to choose between each studio, you can also select between different monitors within those studios, either by clicking on the pictures of those monitors or by selecting down the bottom here. Now, I tend to have gone for this Echo Bar Studio A. I really like this particular studio because when I listen to it, it sounds most like my current studio when I'm using my monitors. Now, I've no idea if that's how you're supposed to make your selection, but that kind of makes sense to me because it means that when I'm mixing on headphones, I'm getting a reasonable approximation of what I'm getting through my studio monitors, which I'm really familiar with. You go ahead, try this out. Tell me which ones you prefer to use. So the bulk of the sound is going to be affected mostly by which studio you choose and which monitors you choose within that studio. But you do still have some tweaking available to you. For example, under the main controls here, we have a setting for ambience. Now this brings in more or less of the reflections in that room. So that may be helpful to you to get that real sensation of being in a studio. There is also a limiter included. Now I have to say on this one that remember that this plugin is not designed to be applied to your mix. This is a monitoring plugin which is actually automatically bypassed during mix down. You can choose to have it switched on. We'll see that later if you want to use it as an effect, but largely we're using this as a monitoring plugin. So the limiter here wouldn't be applied to the final mix, but it could be useful if you do want to protect your headphones or your ears. So there is a limiter there for that. Now moving over to the advanced settings here, we do have a slider for clarity. This helps to bring more clarity to the mix and affects things like the transients. I've tended just to keep that on the default value. And then to tweak things even further for your specific hearing, we have a balance control here because you may have some difference between your left and your right here in terms of balance. So what I recommend with this is listen to a mono signal and adjust this until things sound perfectly centered to you, and then you will have done the final adjustments for your hearing. So the question is, does this plugin really place you in a prime position, perhaps in Warren Hewitt's very seat in Spitfire Studios, for example? Well, the answer to that is, I don't know. I've never been to Spitfire Studios, never been invited. However, I don't think that that's the most important question. There's no doubt that they've put in great efforts to achieve that. They've modeled the studios, they've looked at the headphones that you're using, and they've even analyzed your ears to get the closest representation of those studios that is possible. However, I think the most important question is, does this help you to improve your mixes? Now, only you can really answer that. So I'll invite you to follow the link in the description and download the 14-day trial of this plugin. Now, I'd recommend that you think of a song that you've previously mixed, which isn't too familiar to you anymore, and then remix it using this plugin and just see if you think you got a better result. Let me know in the comments down below about that. Now, while you're checking out the description, also check my link to patreon.com, where for as little as $1 per month, you can help me help you by making more videos like this. And I'll see you in the next video.